Well, the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has suspended the ongoing protest in different states across the nation. Do recall that the Nigerians have been hit by economic hardship, inflation, forex crisis, high cost of living, which has been occasioned by sudden removal of petrol subsidy. Now, this attracted protest in many parts of the country. Just one day into the protest, the Nigeria Labour Congress suspended the action, saying that the objective of the protest had been achieved. Well, you would also recall that prior to this firm stand to protest, some Nigerians had expressed their loss of faith in NLC to effectively tackle the government in putting out its grievances. Oh, well, also the president had claimed his administration is providing safety nets to protect Nigerians who are worst hit by the economic reforms. He cited a recent resumption of the social investment programs that was announced by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun. Meanwhile, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajurin Galali, had criticized the Nigeria Labour Congress for staging a nationwide protest, saying that the government had already commenced efforts to alleviate economic hardship that Nigerians are going through. Well, I have been duly informed that we have all our guests in. We must say a very big thank you to Nick Agule, who joined us earlier for the newspaper review and who will be staying with us as we go into the two major talking points for today. Thank you very much, Nick. We're also being joined by Chukwuma Okoro and Great Imo, both journalists and public affairs commentators. Well, good morning once again, gentlemen. Now, quickly, I would like to go to Chukwuma for this one. With the statement credited to Ajurin Galali, that government is doing the needful already. There was no need to go on strike. Well, you will recall that the agreement between NLC and government stated that a committee to look into minimum wage should have been constituted 1 month, which would have been in November, from October 2nd. So the 1 month would have been in November. Well, that wasn't constituted up until sometime in January. And then the wage award was paid once sometime last year, and just recently, government started paying backlogs up until January. Wage award. So some would argue that if NLC had not insisted on going on strike, government wouldn't have, started meeting some of its own side of the bargain. How do you react to this, Chukwuma?
Good morning, Moses. Good morning, co-panelists. Good morning, viewers. Is that Masinachi?
Yeah. Oh, yes, it is.
Okay. Good to see you again. I like your new look.
Thank you.
And David is in the building as well. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So Moses is like, I'm not surprised about what is happening because to a lot of Nigerians, the NLC strikes have become a deja vu. It's like something that we experience. We like to. You already know what is going to happen, even in the next 6 months, if NLC plans a strike or a protest. You know that it will just take the usual 1 or 2 days. Government calls them in, does some negotiations, and they call it off. They suspend it and say they have not called off the strike. They have just suspended it. So to somebody like me, it has become deja vu. And I've always said it, even on this studio, that I've lost faith in the NLC because they even lack direction. They are even more confused than the government itself. The NLC is unable to articulate its demands. The NLC is unable to pursue its demands to a conclusive end. The NLC just does some showpiece, some showpiece to show that, hey, guys, we still have a Labour Congress that is doing something. So to me, it is It has become deja vu. It's something like okay, when was the last time I experienced this thing? It's like this thing has happened to me before. That is what NLC has become. And if you talk about our public officers, I always have problems with the communications people of the president. Look at what Ajuri Ngelale put out. Ajuri Ngelale said that the federal government says that the strike is needless, and turns around to say that some people should not exploit the situation on ground. You eminently recognize that there is a situation on ground. What is that situation that is on ground? Economic hardship, sufferings all over the place, soaring inflation, prices go up every day, people's purchasing power goes down every day. There is no money. The dollar is going up every other day, fluctuates to the point that whenever Naira gains 50 Naira, the president's media men unleash that 50 Naira to the public. And what are we talking about? You understand that there's a situation and you blame people, ask them not to exploit the situation. Why don't you deal with the situation? That is what good people, that is what rational people should do. You don't locate your problems outside.
All right.
And from everything that has happened, it does show that both the presidency, the NLC, their handlers, they are just confused because nothing seems to be moving. Nigerians are still suffering.
Okay, I'd like to ask that basically. So I'm still going to stay with you right now. I want to find out, at this point, there is the issue of trust deficit between the Nigerian people and the government. Do you think that even with this suspension of the protest, there would be something substantial that the government will bring to the table after now? Because yes, Ajuri has come out to say that the situations are being addressed. Do you see any sort of light, particularly as a result of this protest that started yesterday and had been suspended today? Do you see any sort of light at the end of this tunnel for Nigerians? Or should Nigerians be worried about the situation?
I don't see any light. Rather, I see more darkness. I see more darkness in the pipeline. Because for crying out loud, for 9-10 months, the government has been grappling with this economic situation.
All right.
For 9 clear months that it went into office, it has been grappling with this situation, and things keep getting worse.
All right then. Okay.
So where is the light coming from? Where is the light coming from? I don't see any light.
We need to shine
I see
the
more
light
darkness.
All right. Chukuma, let me bring Great Imo into this conversation as well. Great, good morning once again. Now, how would you ponder your conclusion today? Was the strike needless? Are Nigerians not giving government enough time? Because some Nigerians, especially some Nigerians in power, have said, look, Nigerians are impatient. If this government is doing something, and Nigerians are not patiently waiting for it to come to fruition. How do you react to this? Great.
Well, I'll start by saying that right now it is a pity that a lot of Nigerians still believe that the people in government, they have anything to offer. Let me tell you a symbolic issue that happened some few days ago. It is very symbolic, and I'm not sure a lot of Nigerians took note of it. The day some business tycoons were invited to the villa was the day the government submitted to its inability to be able to do anything. So all the rants prior to the election and immediately they assumed office, and all the renewed hope mantra and sing song were all deceptive, because a government that came into power when Nigerians were already crying ended up getting the country into a worse situation, and the country, especially the economy, continued to spiral downward for this period of time. So Nigerians must establish one thing, in case they are ignorant of that symbolic fact or happening, that if after this 7 to 8 months or thereabout, all we keep getting were worse and worse and worse. That means that the people who came to power had no idea what to do with Nigeria. So the invitation to Aso Rock was actually a call for rescue. It is a symbolic submission to Nigerians that those who ranted about building and having done what and what before now, they know nothing. Because you can't tell me you are building the economy, that you have something to offer, when before the former administration left, Nigerians were already in hardship, and you came and made it worse, and it was not getting any better. So from now on, I want Nigerians to understand this. The people we have in government are incapable of solving Nigeria's problem. That is the honest truth.
Okay.
So, including, I was sitting here to analyze Nigeria. We should be offering help because these brains are incapable. They become helpless.
Okay.
The knee-jerk react to the economic policy, and the negative effect tells you there is something. So to that effect, Labour going on strike was just to pressure not just them but all of us, to remind us of where we are. And I don't think it was a needless protest, because the protest is the reminder. And also considering the fact that in the last few days there have been news and rumors of all manner of things, and the chief of defense staff coming out to say some people are doing, whether those are gaslighting or propaganda to keep Nigerians away from protesting, but at least anything also is sensitive to those, so that nobody hijacks that, like we had in the case of NSAS, to finally destroy Nigeria. I think that should be noted.
All right, so I'm going to ask Mr. Nick Aguli this question. Ngelali came out and said that he understands that there's a problem in the country and that the government has been doing everything possible to, make sure that these concerns are being looked into. But then we, like Moses mentioned earlier, we saw that the president is getting ready to go to Qatar. And Nigerians are having a lot of questions. You're saying you're trying to do a lot of things to curb the hardship in the country, but the number of persons going to Qatar with you are a little too much. And you have a lot of ministers. You're having a lot of ministers that we have had before. And a lot of things happening in the country now. It feels like there's really nothing much that the government is doing to curb the hardship in the country. How do you react to that?
I honestly, I give kudos to Nigerian journalists, whether it's electronic or print, for the good work that you guys are doing. That we're able to sit down and discuss Nigeria freely, and put pressure on those who are in government to give us better governance is something to be commended. But I have big issues with the Nigerian journalists, actually, on the one side. And my big issues there is the lack of interrogation of our leaders. Journalists sat in that room, and the Minister of Information said that government has implemented 90% of the agreement that they had with Labour back in October last year. And journalists did not bring out the list of the items that were there and say, Mr. Minister, please, can you do an appraisal of what you have delivered? Number one, you were supposed to give wage award. Has it been given? Number two, you were supposed to set up minimum wage committee within a month. Has that been done? Number three, you were supposed to constitute a visitation panel to refineries. Has that been done? And if it doesn't produce 90%, you don't need to say he's a liar. The world will see that he's a liar. Why don't we just at least put these people on the hot spot? Why don't we interrogate them? I watched several interviews where someone sits down and makes a careless statement, and I expect the person to who is interviewing him to drill him down, go down. Is it that we need to bring, some sort of, I don't know what to do to say that we bring us to that level where journalists can put people to task so that when they are going for an interview, they themselves will say, look, I either prepare very well for this interview or these guys are going to rubbish me. So where is the 90%? Those items, I can't remember whether there were 10 or 15 items that the government signed with labor. 90% of them, where have they? Okay, like one was CNG buses. Government was to bring in CNG buses. Where are the CNG buses? Where are the CNG buses? Can government point out which state, which road a CNG bus is running? The other one, of course, was that, President Tinubu made a speech on the economy where he said they are going to give hundreds of billions to SMEs and all of that. It was also in that level. How much of that money has the president released now to the SMEs and all of that? So I bet you let the minister get away with saying 90%, was implemented. And of course, President Tinubu is paying lip service to his foreign trips. Like I said on this program in the past, he said he was going to cut the number of his delegation. And I said, what if he cuts the number of his delegation but increases the number of trips? Is he going to come to the same thing? And that is what is happening. In fact, if Nigeria had a modicum of respect for ourselves, the kind of spat that Qatar, small tiny Qatar, less than 3 million people, ordinary small Qatar, we are begging them to hold a business summit with us. So if we had a modicum of respect for ourselves, immediately they issued that note and said they don't have time, their people are not around, this person is not, they were not notified, we don't have bilateral agreement. We should have called their bluff. The president wouldn't even have gone there. He's gone there to go and do what? Qatar is a desert land. The only thing they have is gas. And they have used that gas to become a developed nation. We have the gas that is burning away in the Niger Delta. Has the president asked himself why Qatar has used gas to become a developed nation and our own gas is burning away in the Niger Delta? Instead of going to Qatar, he should fly to Niger Delta. Go and look at the perpetual fires that are burning away our gas as if gas has no value.
All right.
And ask the question, why is this gas burning away? This gas must stop burning away. And we will now have power supply, which comes from the gas. We have domestic gas, we have industrial gas. And we will put the gas through other uses as well.
Well,
this is what the president needs to do.
As it stands, Nigeria has entered a gas deal with Germany.
Yeah.
And, some Nigerians are wondering if you don't even have enough gas to power your economy and you're entering a deal that will see you export gas to Germany. Well, some have also said it's foreign exchange coming into the country. Oh, well, let me come to Chukwuma now quickly. Chukwuma, we have the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, was under fire when he said that the president of Nigeria should have told the way of the president of Argentina in terms of cutting cost of running the state. How do you react to this?
Moses, we don't need a former vice president to tell the president that. It's very simple.
But he was basically brought down, saying, no, you're talking from lack of exposure. There was no need to toe the line of the president of Argentina, because the situation, even though we know the situation are similar, but they are not exactly the same.
No, Moses, the core issue here is what? Is it now about cutting the cost of governance?
Oh, yes.
The issue is about cutting the cost of governance. So whether the issues in Argentina and Nigeria are contemporaneous, or not, the issue boils down to what? The baseline is what? The cost of governance. And like I said, it doesn't really matter if he exampled Argentina or any other country. The issue boils down to what the government needs to do to cut down the cost of running government. Look at the charade that they call the Oseni report that has been in the news for the past 2 or 3 days, where some ministries are merged, some are scrapped. So what happens to those budgets? And Nigerians are saying, good, this is fine. But why don't you start from the presidency? Why don't you start from the National Assembly to cut down the cost of governance? These are the main issues. And like I said, we don't need an article Abubakar. Moses, you know, I know, every other Nigerian knows that there is a debilitating effect on the Nigerian economy based on the cost of running the government. Look at the budget. What is the percentage of the budget that goes to healthcare? What is the percentage of the budget, Nigerian's budget, that goes to education? What is the percentage of the budget that goes to infrastructure? What is the percentage of budget that goes to manufacturing? Now, compare that or measure that with the percentage of the budget that goes to the National Assembly. These are the basic questions. So anybody, normally, if it's from the other side, what the handlers of the president will normally do is to find a way to shoot it down. But no matter how they try, Nigerians know the facts of the matter as they are before us. We don't need an article of Abubakar. Okay. We don't need a Sheikh Husani. We don't need any other person to tell us that. Nigerians, even the government, they know. Right. Government knows. But the problem is that they are unable to put their acts together. Why? Because they see Nigerians as the them and as the us. I told you one day on this platform that somebody in government told me in confidence, he said, Chukuma, let me tell you, the present people in government, I am one of them, we don't have the capacity to do good for this country. Everything is all about us, and us. And that is what is happening. That is what is happening.
Okay.
Look at the number of people going. Okay, come on.
All right, I was just going to go straight to Mr. Great Imo at this point. My question to you is very, very specific. Now, the president did mention yesterday providing safety net for Nigerians. I mean, the worst hit by the economic reforms. What specific measures do you think and do you believe should be implemented to carry out all of this safety net and make sure it does reach the worst hit Nigerians? That's one. Two, there is also the issue that almost everybody is saying, particularly on trust deficit. At this point, would you say that our political allies have the political will to do Nigerians any good? If your answer is yes, then maybe you need to elaborate. But if your answer is no, would you advise Nigerians at this point, what should they be doing?
Well, thank you. The first question, I will start by saying that long before now, this so-called social safety net that they are talking about, that was about the same rhetoric that President Buhari, former president of Nigeria, went on and on with for 8 years, and we ended up with nothing. And when people talk about social safety net, you will expect that they have a good grasp on how to go about these things, but you just discover that when they say these things, they're actually looking for other ways to steal Nigeria's money. That's why in 2016 or thereabout, I was on, I think, Television Continental with Laolu Akonde, who was SA to the former vice president. Yeah. When they initiated this idea of, conditional cash transfer and everything, I remember saying as of that time that this is going to spread poverty, because what Nigeria needed was to improve its productivity. If we are going to be budgeting as of that time 500 billion, you want to do conditional cash transfer, you are going to increase inflation, because you're going to have more money chasing fewer goods. Instead of this shenanigans, cause so-called conditional cash transfer and all those humanitarian nonsense? Why don't you budget like $1 trillion and do it and turn it into a matching fund for indigenous production companies using indigenous raw materials, especially high volume of indigenous raw material? You will instigate productivity and economic activities across board. And the first point of social safety net for Nigerians right now is to ensure there is security across the length and breadth. And there have been so many theories and practical ways this can be done, including decentralizing power a little more and making the subnationals a bit more responsible in the provision of security. Especially we witness a situation where even the behemoth national security, where they try to enforce laws, some people at the national were using their national office to want to undermine the effort of people at the subnational. But whereby you allow those at the subnational who understand their environment to secure their environment, it will go a long way. Then secondly, do a matching fund for Nigerians who are already in the productive sector. Nigerians who are already in the productive sector with baseline agreement. For example, if your Oseni is worth 500 billion, Nigeria government want to invest maybe 200 billion. We know the amount of workers you already have. We have a bargain on the number of workers you have to employ. Number two, people who are telling you that they want to improve the economy, they are still importing. Go and check our national budget. Computers, cars, government of Nigeria, economy that is in a critical condition. National Assembly members are budgeting almost 200 million to import cars from outside the country when there are indigenous companies producing cars. In fact, some of these cars we are going to import, just last year, before the exit of President Buhari, there were budget of cars for everybody across ministries, parastatals. While in their homes, most of them will not do it. If they were to use their monies to purchase this car, in the next 3-4 years, they wouldn't need a car. We need a government. And we need a government that understands that right now they cannot continue to be gluttonous. That is number one. So, and to talk about trust, there's actually a trust deficit. And it did not start today. Over the period of time, the Nigerian elite have shown that they are incapable of building a nation. When you read the book, 100 Years Marathon, you read the book From Third World to First World, you read the book Why Nations Fail, you begin to understand that, honestly, if anybody describes Nigerian elite as charlatan, he will not be making a mistake. These are elites who are gluttonous, who are just short-sighted, who are just materialistic, who think the primitive acquisition of material things is the essence of the existence and not the establishment of their society and putting it on strong footing to be among the League of Nations, to be respected across the world. So if it is for trust deficit, there is already. And considering that, and borrowing from what is going on, I don't think any Nigeria is willing to give them that benefit of the doubt for now. They need to really prove themselves. Otherwise, until that time, nobody is going to trust these elites who are insensitive, who are short-sighted, and who appear clueless. Because when you see the kind of programs they marshal, they are just knee-jerk reactions to what is happening. They are reactive. They are reactionary rather to these issues rather than being visionary. Because you can see the end to end of what they are doing. So let nobody go and rest. We must continue to talk. Experts amongst us must continue to initiate this, because I don't think these guys have something to offer.
Okay. All right then. Thank you very much. Great email. Now let me come to Nick Agule. I do recall that during the newspaper review, you were going to say something about the strike, the protest, I beg your pardon. You were going to say something about the protest. If you still recall what you were going to say, I'd like for you to put that out there. Now, as you also react to that, during the protests in Lagos, SAN, Femi Afalano, proposed a social security bill to the Lagos Assembly. How do you react to a social security bill? Is that something that is feasible, or is that another white elephant project?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, during the newspaper review, I was about to say that the NSC president, I watched him on TV yesterday. He made something that he said something that almost brought me to tears. He said that a loaf of bread now costs more than 1,000. So if you have a family that is buying only one loaf of bread per day, that at the end of the month they will spend about 40,000, and 40,000 is already above the minimum wage of 30,000. And let's not forget that the minimum wage of 30,000 is not even being implemented by all the states in Nigeria. In fact, it's one of the items that was on that list of the agreement that was signed by the federal government with Labour back in October. So you see, when the minister says we have done 90% of it, we should put into task how many states are now implementing 30,000 minimum wage. So if buying only a loaf of bread costs more than the minimum wage of a family household, you can only imagine the multidimensional poverty that Nigerian households are going through. And I have a problem with the NSC. The problem I have with them is that, like I said, the government that they are negotiating with has already pulled the gun by removing subsidy, by floating the naira. Why the NSC members who are now suffering are already undergoing this hardship. The NSC goes to meet the government, they give them promises, they go home. Nothing happens. They go and meet the government, they give them promises and go home. The NSC has to change the game. If they are doing this same thing and expecting different results, else they are not going to deliver anything to their members. This government has been in office now, it's getting to 1 year. In fact, when this government was elected into office, when they knew they would form a government, was back in February. So now they are 1 year since they knew they were going to be in office. And we are not seeing anything tangible. As regards the proposal by the learned gentleman, Femi Falana, SAN, even in the UK, the government has a big social security budget. I think UK's social security budget is above 200 billion pounds, where the government provides a safety net for citizens. So those who don't have jobs are getting unemployment benefit. Families that don't have accommodation, the government provides accommodation. Look, the government puts people up in hotels, pending when they will get a government house to put them in. You know, the government is paying disability, but all sorts of things the government is paying, and that is an advanced economy with high employment rate, low inflation rate, where ordinary people are doing well, government is supporting people. Not talk about Nigeria, so that is needed. But look, that are just short-term palliatives. What needs to happen to this economy? And I agree with my co-panelist, I think it was Chukuma who said it. This government is carrying on as if they came into office without an idea of what to do. Look, there are low-hanging fruits in this economy that the government can tackle. When the government tackles these things, it will create sustainable jobs, sustainable high-quality jobs. Like it is said, it is better you show somebody how to catch fish instead of giving them fish. These social security payments are giving people fish. How do you teach them to catch fish? Number one, deal with power supply. Not only will it boost productivity in the economy, there will be jobs created in that power value chain. Deal with the refineries, deal with agriculture, deal with the steel plants, deal with the railways, deal with road infrastructure. These things will create jobs in addition to providing, imagine if Nigeria says, if this government says, we have a target that before our administration ends in 2027, the first time, there will be a train from the federal capital of Nigeria to every state capital. So there will be 36 lines running from Abuja to state capitals in Nigeria. Do you know how much jobs that is going to create? Including the construction jobs.
This is helping. This actually
that's what you do for Nigeria.
Helping the government, like great proposed, helping the government. That's a fantastic idea. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap this conversation up as we have limited time to delve into the other one. I do thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts, but I would like you to stay with us as we look at another pressing issue, of course.
Of course, moving on, we have the fact that CBN raises interest rate to 22.75%. Let's discuss this when we return.